What's up, Miniatures Paintbrush Legion? This is Rob, your host, and today we're going to paint up an XV95 Ghostkeel Battlesuit. Let's go down to Tabletown and let's get started. Alrighty, so let's get started with this tutorial. Now I'm going to go off my painting table and I'm actually going to paint this off screen. Now what I did before I started painting this tutorial here is I base coated everything with a white primer. The helmet itself, I wanted it red, and I use a specific formula for red helmets. It's Scarlet Red from Citadel and a Red Scarlet, and I mixed that with a drop of Game Color Ink Red, and the results is this super high intense red. I love it for my red. Okay, let's go down to here. Now you're going to see some assemblies here. I'm going to be painting black, model color black, my favorite black by the by. And what I did was I did a little bit of masking here. See, I primed everything black and then I primed everything white. But what I did was I took Silly Putty and I just left the areas or the general areas where I wanted to remain white. So I put them sub-assembled onto this pill bottle here, and then I figured, hey, you know what, I can just always go back. If I have overspray, I could always go back and use the model color black in order to fill in the different areas which I had some white overspray into. But the important thing is here is when you do it a sub-assembly, to make sure that you assemble as much as the model as possible so that you can get in every angle for every crook and every cranny, so you can get everything completely painted. But you start off with an airbrush with broad strokes, and then you go on to the smaller details. And that's exactly how I usually paint. Go with the broad strokes, get the primer done, get your black done, get your white in. And white is, if it's one of the trickiest colors to do. I do not like to hand paint white. So I almost exclusively airbrush white or use a rattle can white primer when I do white. It's the only way I can get that stark, smooth white that I feel. And there is a way to do it with a brush, but I can imagine that it takes multiples upon multiples upon multiples of layers in order to get that transition. And time is a commodity that I don't like to waste, because I don't get any more of that in my life, right? Once it's gone, it's gone. So I don't want to waste my life putting coats after coats after coats after coats. So, you know, airbrush was the way to go. Exactly. Now I do like, as far as airbrush, I do like my Iwata CS. I really do. That is my workhorse. It used to be a Badger, and Badgers are great. It was my starter brush. They can be a little finicky sometimes, and you have to definitely have that learning curve with them. All around, the Iwata has been a beast for me, and I love it. And I do have a Harder & Steinbeck CR+, and I don't know how to use it. Every airbrush have its little quirks, you know. I also have a Sotar 2020. All of their brushes have their little quirks, their little things that you're gonna have to get used to. And that's not something that you can really teach as much as you getting the feeling for the brush. And different size needles, you'll have to thin differently compared to the size of the needle that you're blowing through. The smaller the needle, the more it needs to be diluted. The more it needs to be diluted, the more trigger control you're going to need, because it'll spider on you. That's when the airbrush sprays too much paint in one area and it blows droplets outward. You don't want that either. You have to find the right balance, which is tricky. Some people think, oh, you got an airbrush, all your stuff is going to be amazing. I mean, it can be, but it's going to do like everything else. Wow, you got a really nice paintbrush. That means all your work is going to be amazing. How about this? Hey, you just bought the newest Jordan sneakers. You're going to be a great basketball player. The sneakers are just a tool. It's the artistry that comes with it. It's the hard work. It's the training. It's the muscle memory. These are all the things that'll make you become great at using any tool in this artistic hobby of ours. All right, going on to the hands, getting in the black. Now you do have to be careful here when painting black over white, not because you can't cover it. The coverage is absolutely amazing in black. You just, you can go a little too far with it, make straight lines, stray lines. Okay, so next up, I'm also going to go to helmet and get some areas here. Same deal here. You do get excellent coverage, but you're going to need some more brush control. I lean the palm of my hand onto the base of this cork in order to stabilize my hand. I try to get it into funky different positions. One, because I want to do this in front of the camera so you can see it. Actually, I don't know, I paint better when I don't have to record it. But I have to get into some weird angles in order to show you exactly what I'm doing. So I'm painting at like a weird kind of angle in order to paint it. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I've gotten used to that. I think most people who do tutorials on YouTube are used to that fact that you have to kind of, really get in there and do it in weird angles. So this way the camera can get it. Now, the other thing that you have to be very careful of is getting close. In other words, focus. I try to remain in focus at all times, keep whatever subject I'm painting sort of in the middle of the screen so you can see it as well. So it does take a very extreme amount of patience in order to do tutorials. If you ever thought about doing tutorials online, there is work involved. But this is a labor of love for me because I like to share what I do with you guys. And I think it's really cool that you come along with me for this journey that I'm going through. I have a lot of armies, a lot of minis to paint, and I figured, hey, why do this alone when I could definitely, have this fun with other people as well. And share what I love with others, as many as possible. And if anybody ever felt intimidated about this stuff, then, you generally be able to, if I can do it, you can do it kind of scenario, Honestly, I don't think I'm talented at all. I think I am very hardworking and I'm very patient. And I will keep working at a thing until I master it. And there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's just what I do. And with that personality comes the dedication that you're going to need in order to exceed in painting minis. A lot of people paint minis for different reasons, as well. Some people paint just because they want to play the game, which is totally fine. That's where it is. Some people never play the game and they just like to make dioramas and they like to just paint the minis. I like to do a little of both. It's rare that I get an opportunity to play a game of 40k with someone who's a cool person. But when I do cherish that. All right, here's a little tricky. Since I sub-assemble that right there, getting in the middle there is a little tricky, but that's okay. That's okay. That's one of the disadvantages of assembling everything as much as possible, is that you're going to get some tricky things to do. I thank goodness that I actually have it in a sub-assemble where I can go in and get all the angles. See, I can go straight around and keep that brush nice and straight right in the middle right there. I think that is the bee's knees. Because if not, it kind of looks all sloppy and everything. And I don't like that personally. I want a very well painted army. I want my entire army from the infantry all the way down to be well painted. And that's just a priority for me. So that's why I do sub-assemblies, because it helps me do that. It helps me get all the details just so. And I'm very particular when it comes to some of this. As you've noticed, and if you've seen many of my other videos, I also have a Space Wolves army. And I have Stormcast Eternals. Although Stormcast Eternals is a little all over the place right now. I have a lot of models that I really should paint up. And I keep on buying starter boxes. I'm so addicted to starter boxes. Are you addicted to starter boxes? Oh, I am so addicted to the Battle Force box, the starter box, multiple kits in one box. That's the thing that that draws me wholeheartedly. So I have to really be careful this December, because Battle Force boxes, even though last time's Battle Force boxes was rough. I mean, it was really tough to get your hands on a Battle Force box. They sold out pretty quickly. Scalpers are on it. They're on it. and I usually get my boxes. I try to go to a local gaming store. They used to give me a nice percentage off, like a 20% off. They no longer do that for pre-orders. So I'm like, sorry, I hardly go to your shop. So when I do, I'd like to support you, but can you give me a little cutback here? Can you do me a favor? So since my local gaming places don't really do that, I'm like, whatevs, you know. I go to Amazon and I get the best deal. That's it. Pretty cool stuff. And it's not like I'm hurting to play on a game table. I have 3 gaming tables over here that I can set up at any point in time and have a party and have a little tournament going on just because. Just because I can run my own tournaments if I'd like to. So I'm not really hurting for space. It's just getting to know people. I think I might make a meetup. Meetup's a good place to meet people. Where do you meet people to game with? How do you do that? So I think I might do a meetup group. And I think that'd be kind of cool. We could just meet up in people's places and just play. I'll tell you, 40K brings an interesting amount of people to the scene, like different kinds of people that plays for different reasons. I've met so many different people and so many age different brackets too, you know, so many personalities. One good one, my friend Corbin, he's been on the channel a couple of times as well, and great painter, a great person. He's moving, so he's not going to be in the area anymore, so it's a little sad about that, because you know he is glue. He'll bring people together, you know, and kind of stick them together. So that's fun. But he's not going to be here anymore. But I do have my friend Ian. And Ian and I, we are like 2 brothers from a different mother because we kind of like painting. We talk about playing. We hardly ever play. That's just the way we roll. It's just, I don't know. We love the painting. It's just so cool. So there's that. Right now doing the shoulder pads also in black over white, just all about brush control here. And this is a great place to practice because if you mess up, then repaint it white. That's it. Just repaint it white. Not a big deal. You want to go thin enough that, you know, you don't obscure details. So, yeah. So you want to definitely do that. So, you know, very little risk, great reward. Plus you get to learn all these brush controls. Using my pinky to stabilize there on my thumb. I'm just going to go through these sub-assembles. And, oh, I have a hairy arm. And then the next adjoining part. So this is a part that seems, I mean, the one thing I do like about painting these towels is the limited color palette, you know? You have your black, right? Generally your red spot accents right there, and your blues for the highlights and stuff like that. So you have your red, white, and blue, and that's all there is to it. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. This is an easy paint job that I'm trying to paint in, but I'm trying to paint the easy paint job but a higher kind of quality to it. Now, I do realize that I could definitely take this in different directions. I could put on battle damage if I wanted to, and that'll make a couple more steps. A lot of people use battle damage to hide mistakes. I use battle damage when I want to accent and tell a story. And right now the story of my Tau is that they're new. New to the galaxy, new in general, just new, they're new. So I want all my miniatures to reflect that. So everybody's going to have that fresh, new paint over their stuff, and that's going to be pretty cool. And that's what I do. I've seen quite a few amazing Tau artists, I call them, because they do really, really good work. And I admire other people. I use social media in order to look at other minis to inspire me. Now, there are moments where I want to break my brushes, and I'm sure there are moments for you where you see something like anything from Richard Gray, really. There's quite a few artists, actually, and you look at them like, there's no way I can able to do something like that. But the truth is, and I need to tell you this, the truth is you can do stuff like that if you wanted to do stuff like that, definitely, because all it is going to take you is a ton of practice and time. You know, you only get better at the stuff that you're doing, right? So if you're not practicing something, you're not going to get better at it. So if you're not practicing brush control, your brush control is not going to be great. And if you're not practicing wet blending, then your wet blending is going to look chunky. You know, there's just all these kinds of things. And I try to like conquer different fears, like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, well, why don't I even try? Like I don't defeat myself before I even try, right? And that's the thing. I've noticed that when I do artwork and stuff like that, like a lot of people give up on themselves before they begin. And if you do that, then you'll never know your potential. My friend Ian says, oh, that is not a pile of shame. That's a pile of unlimited potential. Everything is in there. Everything is in there. And, you know, the finished product isn't out there. So you can't remorse over all the stuff that you did wrong. I'll tell you, there has been armies that I regretted. My Stormcast, for one, I painted it in that teal color, and I thought it was different for my Space Wolves, but it kind of looks samey. So, you know, they're different paints, but they still look samey. So I'm like, oh man, this is messed up. You know, what are we to do here? So now I'm thinking maybe I should have painted him something else. But is it too late? Is it too late? I don't know. Might be. It might be. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'll just like change it up and put different kind of steps in there. I don't know. Could be a lot of things that I can go. A lot of different directions I can go with that. Like my fax attack could be one color, while my main infantry guys could be another color, and I don't know. Mix it up, because every year they're gonna come up with every couple of years they gotta come up with a new kind of like storm host, so they're gonna change it up. Who's to say I don't have like a whole bunch of armies? And they're all Stormcast, so they'll come together at some point, right? They don't really fight each other, do they? Like Stormcast Eternals, they don't really fight each other. For those of you who don't do AOS, I also have AOS armies. My Flesh Eater Courts are fun. They were fun. They were my pandemic army. While we were on lockdown, I just knocked out an entire army, which was great. It was great to be able to do that. It was a bit of a marathon, but it was great. A lot of fun to do that. Doing Mechanica Standard Gray. Now, Mechanica Standard Gray has an equivalent Vallejo model color, plain gray, I think it's called. Yeah. Just the exact same color as Mechanica Standard Gray, but the bottle of it has more ounces and it's cheaper. So, so it's really good. It's really good. Neutral gray, I think it's called. Yeah, neutral gray. That's it right there. So if you ever have Mechanic Standard Gray and you want, you know, like your pot runs out and, you know, you don't want to spend another $11 or something like that for another pot, then, I mean, spend your $5 and you'll be able to get some equivalent from Vallejo. Really cool stuff. Alrighty, doing some more Mechanica Standard Gray over here, just putting some accents on this gun. I love this gun. This gun is pretty cool, actually. Ghostkeel is actually pretty cool. You know that once they were only sent through stealth missions, like they came out during the 3rd expansion of the Tau, but you know they would kind of hit him off, like they don't want him seen, you know. Definitely the epitome of Tau technology again over here. So it's pretty cool, the Ghostkeel. It's a cool weapon. It's cool, change of pace a little bit. It's like a cyclic ionic blaster, but a large one. That's awesome. That is awesome. Speaking of which, I got a couple more made from Shapeways. Be careful with those Shapeways ones. The quality of it, they leave lines, and I hate that. So I'm scraping for days. And be careful with those resin when you start scraping resin. You could breathe that stuff in, and that is no bueno for your lungs. So careful with that. So, oh yeah, we've gone to Mechanica Standard Gray. That is the second color. We got the white. Oh, I said red, white, and blue, but we also have gray, right? Those are the 4 colors this army is. Limiting the wet palette and making it easier for me to paint. Less time of me thinking, oh, what color am I going to paint this? And if I make a decision, I'm going to have to stick to it for the rest of the army. So it's a big decision, right? But once you got it dialed in, I mean, it's just wash, rinse, repeat, right? I'm building armies. Retrospect, I could have done something with that gap, but it was underneath, so I was like, kind of want to speed paint through this. I do have a lot more tau to go, so, you know, it is a marathon for me. It is a marathon. Now I'm going to try to do some glowing effect in there. I'm going to start with dark Prussian blue. I'm just going to throw that inside these slots right here. And the good thing is if there's any kind of like overbrushing, then I could always go back and with mechanic standard gray and cover it up. I love things when I can cover up mistakes if I make them, because I make mistakes. I'm quite human, you know. So just put in the dark Prussian blue, and I'm going to try to wet blend in here a little bit. So see how that works out. We could go back and forth until we like it. That's what we do. When you wet blend, you kind of go back and forth until you actually like it. You know, that's the idea of wet blending. Keep going back and forth until you actually like it. You know, I should do that. I should do a tutorial on just wet blending. Actually, I'm doing a demon right now for the game that I play with my wife called Rain in Hell, and I'm doing greater demons, or no, superior demons. That's what it is. That's what I'm trying to do. Superior demons. Now I'm going for a lighter blue. You can use this one, or you can use a different one. It doesn't really matter. Just any light blue will do. I do Temple Guard blue just because, for giggles. I'm just going to throw some in there and see what it works like. Now, you have to get over the ugly phase, because when you wet blend, there's going to be a part of it where it's going to look ugly. And then it'll dry, and then you'll keep going at it and keep working at it until it looks great. And that's what wet blending is. I mean, it's great, the two wet blending, but it is time consuming. It really is. And I'm not good enough that my results come out that it looks exactly like an airbrush, but in tight spaces like this, I mean, it sincerely calls for it. I mean, it really does call for it. All right, some Pro Acryl white now. I've always hated painting white, but there it is. I'm going to take this over here. I'm just going to put a little drop in there, just so you can see the energy peak in there, and we'll have that extra color. Got to make sure that it shows up, so got to put enough of it on there, and there it is. There it is. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and you get kind of a transition or a fade in there from light to dark, making it a wet blend transition. Looks pretty cool. Just got to blend that in just a little more there. Looking good. Looking pretty sharp there. I like it. I like it. Now time for some cleanup. Cleanup is essential, and I think that's the hardest thing to do. Is after you finish painting, you can get the volumes and everything like that, but I'm kind of a messy painter, and then I'll have to clean it up and make sure that I, you know, erase all my mistakes. And some people do that with weathering. I just like to go back there and redo the whole thing if I needed to. If I don't need to, just be very, very careful with stuff. And, you know, but if I make a mistake, that's not really a big deal. You know, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, it's terrible. I made one little mistake. You know, don't dip your stuff in green stuff or throw them away or set them on fire. They're just minis. You're just doing the best you can. That's it. End of story, morning glory. It doesn't have to be more complex than that. Okay, hand painting white over this little section here that I got some blue on, just to make sure that it's okay, and it looks pretty darn good. It's getting there. Notice I'm just like touching it. I'm just touching the areas. It deposits more paint that way when you just tap the area. Wow, look at that. There it is. So you can see that it kind of transitions kind of well when you wet blend. It was pretty cool. All right, now time to do some lenses. The Ghostkeel eye, just having some fun with it. Oh no, my Raphael, kind of like my Raphael brush, it's blade. It does. I've used it for about a year now, and I painted an entire army with it. It's given me its money's worth for sure. And I usually paint until like it really does fall apart. So I have 3 Windsors and Newton Series 7s ready to go in the package on my desk just in case. this one were to get to the point where it's so annoying that I can't take it anymore. So there's that. I wonder if that's going to be filmed on camera. I can't take it anymore. No more. Anyway. Yeah, this masked eye is kind of interesting. It's different than all the other ones that I've ever encountered. So what I'm going to do is mechanic extended gray in the middle right there for the hot tip. In the literal best of all days. Go Kenny B. So yeah, I like that it has a different head with the eye, and it sort of kind of looks like a spider. Like all the eyes that this thing has, all the lenses this thing has, sort of looks like a spider, which is interesting because I do not like spiders. So if you see my wet palette, I try to keep it as organized as possible, but it is a hot mess. It's usually a hot mess. That's because I'm always dipping and adding and dipping and adding, especially when you're wet blending. It really does take a lot of real estate on your wet palette. Please keep that in mind, that if you only have just like one small quadrant, but you want to do some wet palette, wet blending, then you might need an extra like inch or two. So this way you can work the values in between each one of the paints that you're putting down there, especially if it's acrylic. Now, if it's a gel-based medium, you actually slop it onto the model and then do your transitions there, like an artist would to a canvas. So there's that. All right, dark Prussian blue for the lenses, for the win. Now I'm going to go from some Temple Guard blue. I'm going to make sure I get the last of it right there because that's just about finished with that. All right, now I'm just going to dab it onto the lower left hand, right? Left hand, yeah. Lower left-hand corner of these three here. And I may have to go back and clean some of that up for the first one. The second one came out really well. But you can see how quickly this turns into a lens, like super quickly. Super. And then, of course, there's the white that you have to do. But I'm going to go back with dark Prussian blue to bring some of that back. And that's the result right there. Kind of like a little different. Could I stop here? Absolutely. But am I going to stop? Absolutely not. I'm going to keep pushing it. Because that's how I roll. I just keep pushing my abilities until they actually achieve or exceed my expectations. And there it is. Pretty cool stuff. I did a whole video on towel lenses, so you can check that out. But I just did that step by step, and it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. I think go back there with Mechanic Extended Gray and get that little bit on the lower right-hand side right there, because I know that's bugging me. So there it is. Boom. That's it. You don't want to overdo that. You got to be careful. Maybe just a little drop or hair there. This is what you call cleanup phase, right? Doesn't take much. Just straightening out that lines, putting in some more like base coat in there, and it kind of just works out, or just kind of works, so to speak. So he's pretty happy that he's getting a face, this model. All right, Vallejo, metal color gold. Is there any gold that ever exists? Aside from that, no, there isn't. That's the answer. That's the correct answer. Bling, 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 boom, boom. I love me some Vallejo metal color. It is the best acrylic metallic paint on the market. I absolutely love this. I've used it on multiple applications, which is always fun. And I was getting to the bottom of the bottle here, and at the bottom of the bottle, it kind of crusts up. You see that? See the big old bubbles and clumps and stuff like that? It clumps up. And I've heard that a lot of people have this problem as well. It's not just me with the clumping of the gold. So if you have this problem, that's kind of normal. It will happen as it dries out and whatnot, kind of crusts together, because there are gold pigments, actual gold pigments inside each bottle of this of metallic paint. That's what makes it realistic. It has the same sheen of gold because there's gold in there, real gold in there. So you're painting with it. So that makes it a little more interesting. All right, slowly caressing the entire bulbous area where it has to be gold. And you need to gently caress that area. You may have to do multiple layers. You may have to do a thick layer and let it settle. There's the one I did right there. Just get it nice and hydrated. And you have to wait for it to dry completely. That's the trick right there. Wait for it to dry completely, which may take a while. So you have to be careful and be patient with that. I know many a times and many a paint jobs I've ruined because I wanted to get back at it so quickly. And when I did get back at it, it kind of blew up in my face. So oopsie, that's what happens when you rush it. Alrighty, just trying to get that Ghostkeel's face right back up. It's looking good there. Looking good, buddy. Definitely looking good. And that's pretty amazing. And I see it when you're doing sub-assemblies, you kind of like build it as you complete it, which is pretty cool. I haven't done the recess shading with oil washes just yet, but here it comes using a stick pen. And this stuff is magic. Like, look, it just travels along the areas. Cleanup is a breeze. You can even do weathering with this stuff. Just point it and it'll just go through all the panel lines and just walk. It actually works even better if you had gloss paint on there. I mean, so good. And it'll just go in there and then you'll have to mat it down again. So it'll add an extra step. I didn't want to go the extra step, therefore I just kind of put it together. I made a go of it. I think it came out well regardless. So I think it's actually quite nice. It was a fun build, really was. Putting this Ghostkeel together. Now I was tempted, definitely tempted to do the coming out of camouflage look. And if you've ever seen those are hecka cool. Those are really cool models. Like they're like that line is going through them and they're coming out of their camouflage. You definitely have to paint up the bottoms or the areas as if it was reflecting the environment around them. So that really makes it interesting. In fact, I think I'm going to do that and post that on the channel. I think that would be a fun idea. I need to import those videos on when I do it and show you guys and girls that, hey, I can do it. You definitely can do it. So there's that. Yeah, so pushing through Tau Army, it has been tough. It has been tough. I have to say, I've done quite a few models, but I still have quite a few to go. So every unit is like, oh, I finished another one. Thank goodness. Oh, I will be happy when this project is completed, although I do not think I'll get it done before the end of the year. So it'll take me over a year to get my Tau done. And that devastated me at first. You know, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to wait so long, and not be able to get it done. Like, it's kind of sad that I couldn't get that done. I couldn't make it happen, you know. Just paint all the minis until then. But you know, motivation wanes when you do the same thing over and over again. And my shelving unit cabinet, that whole, I have an entire tier dedicated to Tau. It's filling up pretty quickly, and there's getting less and less room in there for me to squeeze in some more Tau. But I still have to squeeze in a lot more Tau because I have a lot more Tau to do. I've done a lot, yes. I still have a lot to do, also yes. So there's that. Oh my. So yeah, fitting things together, absolutely amazing. You get this feeling of accomplishment, like I did something when you build something that's already painted. So that's why I always include kind of like the build process and the hobby process. Is so much fun to do when you're building a sub-assemble it's quick. Let's say you only have a couple of minutes one night, you come home from work and you got dinner done, and you just have like a little bit of time because you got to work on something else. Putting together a sub-assembled piece. that's it. And if you do that, you're working towards your hobby. It doesn't have to be huge or elaborate, the things that you do, but as long as you're consistent and work a little bit each day, you will be fine. You will definitely be fine. It's good stuff. All right, so one of the things I'm going to use is poster tack to keep the bottoms of the feet on. And then I'm going to test fit that. That's tough. It's really tough. Now, if I don't know how you do it to test fit stuff, but this is the way I do it. It makes me know where my feet are going to be, and then I'm going to glue it together like this. Now, I have glued Battlesuit's legs, like in a running position. That's another thing I do. Just use poster tack to hold it in place on the ground or on the floor, on the whatever surface you're working on, and then try to fit the piece that it's wrapped in into there. So this way, you make sure that you have an accurate fit. So there's that. So definitely make sure that you have accurate fit, because you don't want it to be like all lopsided and the legs going whoa, all over the place, right? And I've done that. Like my first time, it was kind of rough for me to get the feeding position down. And so, I really do respect the process where I take some poster tack and put it down and make sure that, it has ample time to dry before I take it off. And that's really important. And you can make some adjustments as you want. You can make your pose as dynamic or less dynamic. So it is up to you. It's definitely up to you. But having this option where you're going to put down some poster tack and just be able to secure those legs in the position while you put on a torso or something like that is definitely advantageous. I had a rough go on it a couple of times where I just did things the hard way. I don't know. I was just, hey, if that's the hard way, I want to do it that way. There it is. So, so it was interesting. I'm going to put some Tamiya ultra thin cement on the joints here because I just want to make sure that it is just not going anywhere. I just want to ensure that. Like I do the regular glue, and then I'll do Gorilla Glue. But extra thin cement definitely welds these things together, and that's super important. You want to have a strong base. So I come down there and just put a little drop on the wells, and it's so easy to do. It's like bloop, and it's in there. And then you got to let that dry. Letting that cure is absolutely important, but it starts melting the pieces together to formulate one. I put a little bit extra there, and I felt like I needed to sop it up, so I sopped it up with some Q-tips. As you can tell, it could rip the paint right off, so you have to be careful with it. Vallejo extra thin cement. All right, time for my waste paper basket again, and this time we're going to do a nice little coat of clear. Some matte, ultra matte varnish clear. Definitely helps you. But yeah, sometimes I airbrush stuff and it's not on the table because I don't feel like taking all the stuff off the table. So have you done this? Do you have a waste paper basket or a garbage can where you keep I usually take recycled newspaper, and I take a shredder and I have paper in there, or clothing that's gonna get thrown out just to sop up the water. I just throw that all in there. It's a great mix. All right, time to do edge highlighting. You see white ink and some Temple Car blue, just to get so I can get to the flow consistency which I'm looking for. And it's important that when you do edge highlighting that you do have some paint, but you definitely have a nice flow to that paint. You can use flow improvers if you want to do that. If you want to add some ink to it, you can do that as well. So it's just really up to you. Now time to use the side of the brush and now the tip of the brush. So this way, I can ensure that just the edges get painted and nothing else doesn't. Now, that being said, sometimes it's difficult to get that edge just right, but then I know I try not to, but I know I shouldn't be so picky when it comes to edge highlighting, but I am. Are you picky about your edge highlighting? How often, how long, or how much edge highlighting do you do? Like I wanted to definitely do Tron look on this one, so on all my Tau army. So I spare no expense and I get the edge highlighting done. The one thing I do like to do is edge highlighting over black, simply because if I make a mistake, it's super easy to cover up said mistake or to make a line a little finer. And it's just fun to do. And it looks amazing over black. So if you look at the leg that's not painting, it's boring because like the black kind of like takes all the details and sucks it out of there. The blue adds those details right back, and that's why I love doing edge highlighting, especially in my towel, because of the black. And the black, I want it to pop, and there's very difficult ways in order to make the white pop. This is a simple way that I use to make that black pop, because if you think about it, black is the absence of color. It sucks all the colors into it. So yeah, there shouldn't be anything there when you see something black. But that's that, you know. I want to do something that makes it stand out, you know. So that's why I do edge highlighting. You can do a different kind of edge highlighting, like a red edge highlighting would be kind of cool too. I've never seen a red edge highlighting as much. I mean, possibly when if you're doing OSL, then that would become like a nice little red or warm edge highlighting, which I need to start. I need to start having the different forms of edge highlighting, only because I have so many more models coming up and I'm looking forward to painting them. So this is just more opportunities to practice techniques until I become Slayer Sword winning quality one day. That's just, I mean, the bee's knees. More edge highlighting over here. Again, using the side of the brush. If you use the tip of the brush when you're edge highlighting, it's called freehand. It's just freehand at this point. So 3D printers, what do you think about them? Leave a comment down below if you like 3D printers, if you think 3D printers are evil inherently, or do you think that the people who choose to print out GW style stuff that stands in or proxies in for another model is absolutely cheating? What is this cheating stuff anyway? I never was understood about. Never understood that. Like, why is 3D printing like cheating if you're going to do proxies? Now, I can understand that GW is a little nervous about 3D printers because it's really just taking their game where they charge an absorbent amount of money for models and making them more affordable to everyone. That's always been my gripe about GW, is that it's really tough for the younger generation to get into this hobby, simply because the cost factor is just astronomical. And, you know, if you want to get a decent force, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. And if you happen to like any other force midway through, then you can't, you know. So you're restricting that freedom there. So what I want to do is I'm saving up. I don't know if I'm going to get a DLP printer. I hear they're really good, but the Mono X seems really right up, you know, up my alley there. Hopefully by this holiday season, I'll have enough money to get that. And a Cure Station Part 2, I think that's important to get, because you need, you definitely need some ultraviolet lights to cure your 3D prints. And I am going to have fun with these 3D printers. It is a hobby within itself. You have to dial the UV rays light settings just so in order so that your model can cure. I'm not into wasting any kind of resin, so there's that. So I'm really considering getting it for the holiday season. Merry Christmas, Rob. Here's a 3D printer. How cool would that be? Now, does that mean I'm not gonna have 40K content in here or AOS content? Quite the contrary. I have all this backlog to do before I even print my first print and get that done. But I do want to print up some busts as well, and I do want to print up, you know, proxies. There are certain like Like for Nurgle, the Demon Prince, I think that's hideous. That it needs a refresh, right? Oh, another thing, Forge World stuff, like Supremacy Armor. Like, I hear putting that stuff together is a nightmare. Or a Warlord Titan. I hear putting that stuff together is absolutely a nightmare. And if I can get something resin that I could just paint up and not have to worry about putting it together, then that seems to be the way to go. And I might do a Warlord Titan. That'd be so, so cool to paint up largely what is a small child. I probably would have to buy a case just so I could put that in. But no, seriously, the Supremacy Armor from the Tau. And Tau has amazing stuff on Forge World that looks really cool. The quality's iffy. I would love proxies for that as well. But I'm thinking really getting that in Christmas. Oh, here is where it really starts shaping up when you put the top of the body on. To there, it just looks like you could tell it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Now, I feel like I could have gone a little more forward or tilt forward with this, but I mean, it is what it is at this point. You do have to hold it into place. It might drop. There it is. And I'm blowing it together. But I'll tell you, when you put a sub-assemble like this and you actually assemble it, it feels so good. It feels so good. So yeah, 3D printers might be the way to go. GW has a reason to be a little bit intimidated by that. GW stock prices dropped for this quarter. Could it be 3D printing? I don't know. Possibly. Could it be people striking their stuff? I don't know. Possibly. Could it be more people came out of the pandemic and less time to hobby? I don't know. Possibly all three. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. Okay, put on the arms and everything else, and this model is really coming together. Literally. And it's such a big and cool model to paint. If I had another one, I'd probably do it with the sand and it coming out of the camouflage. But since I only have one in my project that I know of, I am painting it all white like the rest of them. So, and every time I build a model, if I have multiple ones in them, everyone is their own special little one. So, so I make sure that there is very unique details in each one, separated from all the other ones. But yeah, some Forge World stuff. Proxies, and terrain. Oh my gosh, I've seen some really towns and stuff like that. The STL files, they look amazing. So I'm thinking about the Mono X for my 3D printer only because it has a very large plate. The question is, do I go to the Mono X and it'd be happy with that, or do I get a DLP printer and wait for a Mono X-ish size plate or larger to be able to do that? And another thing I could do with 3D printers is car parts, like plastic car parts for the interior. If you can't source some of this stuff anymore, you can actually print them out, and that's it. I know a lot of people who own classic cars. It's like, I can't get that piece anymore. Well, I can print it out for you if you give me the STL file. Done. So I really do want to get better at printing, 3D printing. I think that is the way to go for my army. Will I ever buy another GW product again? Maybe. Possibly. That mega boss on that squig off, it looks like the shark squid. Looks amazing. I think I might pick that up. For those of you who don't know, this summer I actually picked up a orc army and the Necron army because I didn't have enough models and I needed to fill in this space over here and I needed to fill in the bottom space over here. So I have my work cut out for me, really, I do. Do I need to buy any more models? No. Am I going to run out of life before I finish painting all these models? Possibly. I don't know. I do hope to retire at 55, which is not too far away, and take a couple of years, take 5 years or so until my wife retires, and just paint away, chip away at this like there's no tomorrow. Am I going to keep all my armies? I don't know. Maybe I'll give them away or sell them or something like that at some point. I can't live forever and I can't take it with me. So there's that. There's the realization right there. Right there. You can't take it with you and you will not live forever. That sounds morbid, right? But it's true. I mean, someone has to be honest with it. All right, taking some aggregate, going to the base. Just really road gravel, tough from Worldwide Scenics. Gamer's Grass is also very good for toughs. But, you know, and also Luke's APS, or formerly Luke's APS, Geeks Gaming. Another person that inspired me to get my YouTube channel started. He started out, I remember when he first started out, and I was a fan of his stuff way back when. He was like, why are you stressing out? Just do it this way. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. But it was just entertaining. So I used to like watching Luke. A lot of fun there. I specifically remember one of his thumbnails that he was just butt naked and he had a miniature box on his whoa to cover it up. And I'm like, what? You're insane. So I got some tufts and stuff like that. I didn't know what else to do. I got some leaf litter too, because it's an alien world and I don't care. It's an alien world and I don't care. It's an alien world. And could I have done some more stuff down here? Yeah, I could have done some more stuff. Could I put a little diorama? Yeah, I could have done a diorama. Did I want this project to be over? Absolutely wanted this project to be over. At this point, I was just like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to build anymore. Let's just get this done. And sometimes you do that. Like when you get to the final stretch of a miniature, you could like, you do that extra push to get there, you know? And this is totally that. This is totally the extra push in order to get there. That's exactly what I did. It was fun. But I mean, it looks all right. It looks kind of busy, a little messy maybe. When it dries, it looks pretty cool. And it does fit the rest of my army. So there's that. Looking pretty good there. And having all this detritus on the floor, having a clean contrasting model on the top really brings attention to the model itself instead of it getting lost into this really great diorama. Oh yeah, I just wanted to make it easy. Perfection is the opposite of done, so there it is. All right, so with that done, what I'm going to do is just going to clean up some areas that had some overages with the oil washes, and then I just go to a Q-tip and I just like sucking things up right there. You notice there's a lot of like ink that comes out of there, but yeah, you can actually take off a lot with a Q-tip and it just really makes it look pretty cool. So if you ever go for it and you go a little bit overboard on it, know that you can always clean up is the way to go. Like putting on paint is just as important as taking some off sometimes. So keep that in mind when it comes to painting. All right, folks, it's time for the decals. Yes, I put all decals. If you don't know, what I do is I take a brush, I kind of just literally slide them off. That's why they call slide transfers. And with that, I'll take the brush and kind of like dip it in some water and then just move it around exactly where I need to. So if you want to put on decals, that's exactly how I do that. If you're intimidated by putting decals on, try not to be, because it's really not that hard. It's just takes a little time just to position it where you want. But once it's positioned, it's done. And it's not too much of an irregular surface that I needed microsol, microset to be able to do that. So there's just water. If it is an irregular surface, microsol, microset actually softens it. You're going to see that I put TMP in there. And right now I am going to do the final step, which is varnish it. And I love matte, ultra matte varnish. And you can see I tagged up TMP on it. Sometimes I sign it. I sign my work. That's just the way I do things. You know, it's a lot of fun. I just make sure I put a lot of varnish on there because I want to seal everything in, and it's ultra matte varnish. So it's going to matte everything down, and it looks pretty cool. I just don't want my hard work to get wasted. I do recommend you varnish your minis, especially if you're going to play with them. If you're not, then just keep them into your cabinet. Then maybe you don't need the varnish, but you know, I like this better safe than sorry kind of aspect of it. So that's exactly what I did to do that. I think that's pretty much it. This is the last step for this Ghostkeel. I'm going to go on to the pictures and whatnot and let you check that out in just a bit. I love it. I have a lot of decals from a lot of different places too. Yeah, so I kind of like vary it up. I like different kind of decals. I want my army to look a little different than everybody else's. So yeah, I even have a secret weapon in there. Alrighty, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hit the bell notification and turn those notifications on so you can not miss one of my uploads if you're interested. I'm also on a Facebook group, the Miniatures Paintbrush Legion, on Instagram at the Miniatures Paintbrush, and Patreon if you care to have a shout out. I have Mike McBroom and Emily Sesko who support me equally. I don't do too much on Patreon because I have a full-time job and YouTube is the only hobby I can possibly do. If I did this full-time, it'd be a completely different story. I do want to teach how to paint minis in a style like a Google Classroom type of style. I would love to do that. But when I have more time, I mean, possibly when I retire, that might be a thing. Who knows? It'd be kind of cool to get everybody together and do kind of like hangouts and do all that stuff and surround my life with that. But you know, I do other things as well, and I have other hobbies as well, but I do dedicate them time for these videos. And if you don't do any of those things, that's just fine. I'm really happy that you come hang out with me today, and hopefully you learned something about Ghostkeel and painting up a Ghostkeel. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like this video, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on the Miniatures Paintbrush.